what we're trying to do is we're trying to expand the concept of shelter. But we knew that at some point we wanted to have our own location and build our own retreat center, and that's what brought us to Mariposa. We want to be able to host decision makers and people that can have an influence on the outcome, whether it has to do with their business model, their sustainability initiatives, their social initiatives, environmental initiatives, whatever it happens to be, we want to be part of it. What we want to do here is we want to build a conference center that is a demonstration of sustainability in every way that we can. A lodge over in the southwest corner, and we want to put a string of yurts along the eastern boundary above the springs up there for some soft structures, glamping. Altogether, we'd like to be able to house groups up to maybe 3 dozen, maybe 40 people maximum. There is a certain relationship that you have to have with the ground in order to do this kind of project. This is not a prepared built subdivision where the builder goes in and says, I'll take those 6 lots on B Street over there and I'll build some houses. There's no infrastructure. That's not how it works. So the first thing we had to do was prove water. You can't get a building permit unless you can demonstrate that you have water. So we had to bring a drilling rig in here, and we have a wellhead. It's 300 feet deep. It's got 165 feet of static water, which is amazing. It makes 35 gallons a minute. That's enough for a small village. So we wanted surface water. We have the stream running through here, and we have 2 springs on the other side of the Meadows. And we have 3 cubic feet of water rights on the stream. Now that means that we can take 3 cubic feet per second that we can use to irrigate and improve the Meadows. If you do the arithmetic on this, it comes up to like 96 million cubic feet of water a year. But you don't do it 24/7. And what's interesting about this is the ditch that runs through here, which we'll cross, imagine that was dug by hand. That was, you know, if you go and look at it, and look, it's all crooked. It's where the water wants to flow. It's nothing but rocks. And somebody, I don't know how long it would have taken to dig that irrigation ditch so that you could bring water off Mill Creek. And then they added additional feeder ditches to the south, and then eventually a machine dug trench on the other side of the road where we drove in, right there at the gate, it crosses and goes along that fence line back to the back, and that was done by machine. And that's where the main water feeds in. But because we have that irrigation water, the meadows have never been in better shape, in my experience, than they were this year, because we were able to distribute the water properly with the new irrigation system. So we say this about water. This is interesting. We're the senior users on Mill Creek. There's nobody above us. There's never been any mining. There's never been anything that gives it any sort of a taint around environmental issues. But that water that flows through here flows down about a mile from here in the confluence of the Cebolla. So the Cebolla flows into Blue Mesa Reservoir, which means it joins the Gunnison. The Gunnison, of course, is a major tributary of the Colorado, and you know the rest. The water that flows through that meadow right there, somebody smarter than me figured this out, is taken out and put back in 12 times before it gets to this point. Every drop of water that flows through here can be accounted for in human use turns into vapor and comes back to us in the form of snow and rain. That's an important sustainability feature. We're first users, which means that we have first responsibility on that land. And it's not something that we take for granted. On this site, we have a standard aeration septic system, but that is the system that we have in place here because it took up the least amount of space, and because we're strictly on renewable, I don't have the luxury of doing a composting type situation, which is real big energy hog, or a small pipe pressurized system. We're looking at doing that over on the other side, especially with the conference center and the soft structure that the dirt uses. What we'd like to be able to do is completely bioappropriate system over there because of the springs, the groundwater, and the streams. We would also very much like to put in a four-season greenhouse.
A four-season greenhouse filled with produce that grows well in harsh environments will ensure food security and self-sufficiency for the property, especially when access will be limited in the winter and weather events can cause inaccessibility to and from the property. At 10,000 feet, this is a difficult task, but will be accomplished through creative thinking, appropriate use of natural water sources, and a combination of renewables. There is also an agreement with local ranchers allowing the meadows to be grazed in exchange for meat. On-site food production will reduce the environmental costs of transporting food to the property and provide a healthy and unique dining experience for guests.
We wanted to be off-grid. 13 miles to the nearest power plant. We're going to do plug and play with different renewables. Here we are strictly solar electric, but we have propane backup for the boilers and for the generator that was part of the solar system, because it can be pretty extreme up here. Over there, we'll do solar electric again. We'll do solar thermal, so we're going to heat water with geothermal, which is really a misnomer. It's just earth source heat exchange. It's not like old vapor. And we'll do some wind. We have a real nice wind channel with the south end of the property. That will allow us to monitor, it will allow us to see comparisons between the different forms of renewable energy and how reliable it is, and where we can use, what our storage systems are, and so forth. So this gives us a chance to do some research projects. The solar array that will power us actually is on the hillside behind the building. You notice where we've removed a lot of the aspen area. I wanted to do ground-mounted solar systems because I want people to be able to walk up and look at it. I want people to be able to touch it. And you see these remote buildings, right? Typically they're like this. They're very tall and they're compact in size. So the first thing was I wanted to keep the footprint of the buildings as compact as possible. The second thing is that heat rises, right? If we warm the bottom floor, it really reduces the heat load on the second floor. So we went with those concepts and we decided that what we could do is keep the buildings in the same vernacular to make each one of them different. We have the most efficient boilers to provide domestic hot water and in-floor heating that we could find. We have no air conditioning. These buildings are constructed of structural insulated panels. So the walls on all the buildings are 8 inches thick. The roof panels are 12 inches deep. We have an R value on the walls of over 40. We have over 60 in the roof. And if you look at, you might have noticed there were some little thermometers hanging around. So I'm always checking On the coldest morning that I've ever been here, when it was well below, I think it was like 15 below the night before, the coolest temperature that I found inside any of the buildings with no introduced heat was 40 degrees. So they are amazing in holding the energy that we put in. The window is amazing. And by the way, you know, these have an incredible U value. Considered to be, U value is the opposite of R value. R value, the higher the R value, the better the insulation. U value, the lower the number, the better it is. The code requirement for this climate zone in Colorado is 3.2. Our windows are under 2, 1.9. It's amazing. And the solar gain that we get because of the orientation is enough to warm the buildings and keep them comfortable most of the year. It's a very expensive undertaking to do, but they are demonstrations. What it shows us is the opportunity, the possibilities. So we make those conscious decisions based on the best options that we have available to us today, in our judgment. And we have never built a perfect building, and we never will. I've never seen a perfect building product. But the combinations of some of them are pretty damn good. And that's why it's important for us to always be finding ways to refine the process, to streamline, to make things more dependable, reliable, durable, environmentally appropriate, recyclable. We're kind of a laboratory. That's what we do. And so we'll see how this one turns out. These are extremely difficult and challenging times for everybody, and it's largely our own doing. And I will say this with all sincerity to all of you, I'm sorry. I apologize for everything that we screwed up. I'll say something really profound to you. Remember this. Don't forget this. You don't have to think about this today, tomorrow, 10 years from now, but someday you're going to remember I said this to you. Someday you will be someone's ancestor. Live your life in such a way